Well, the second US presidential debate really was something. So too has been some of the media coverage of the debate in Australia. There was the expected cheerleading from Sky News.
Was I watching a dignified contest between two candidates for the highest office in the land? Or was I watching something more akin to a WWE performance where the outcome was predetermined and the so-called good guy wins with an assist from not one, but two other players? In this case, the two ABC debate moderators tapping in and out of the ring to give an assist.
There was also the expected cheerleading from the equally detached from reality Murdoch scribes. I'm looking at you, Greg Sheridan. Mate, what is life like on whatever planet it is you're living on? I mean, Greg softened his stance to this.
Look, I thought it was a pretty low quality functional draw.
But that was for all of about 30 seconds.
I may be the only commentator in the world who had this opinion, but I actually thought Trump slightly outpointed Harris on the debate.
A few moments later.
I think it's probably a draw. I doubt it'll move many votes, really.
Your righteous political commentary rocks.
Whatever, anyway, all that stuff, that was to be expected. But then I started seeing a bunch of people slamming the Australian ABC on Twitter, which again is not really a surprise because the ABC is either lost to the right or stumbling around to the left, whichever corner of the internet you call home. Most of the criticism landed on David Spears and Lee Sales. To be honest, I didn't catch any of the analysis from Spears. All I've seen is the single quote that was,
I mean, this wasn't a disaster for Donald Trump.
Which I won't comment too much on, given maybe, and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here, I could be missing context, but I will say I disagree. It was a disaster, or rather it should have been a disaster for Trump, but we'll get to that. I'd also like to say that laughable arse gravy is not a phrase I've heard nearly enough of. I have read Lee Sales' analysis though, so let's take a look at that. Before I do, let's look at the obvious question, who do I think won? Having watched it, I'd say Harris was the clear winner, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. It seems to be the general consensus, and I think when Fox are even struggling to spin it as a Donald Trump win, you know what's up. Harris was on point for the most part, generally addressed the questions, and gave the appearance of someone in control. Trump, on the other hand, looked like the guy that thought he could turn up to the exam and breeze through without studying. The majority of his responses were meandering and rambling, with all of them eventually leading back to his hot-button topic of immigration. And by the time the debate wrapped up, he left the world with a soundbite that will spawn 1 billion memes.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
On the surface, those words were equal parts ridiculous and hilarious, but once they settle, they become, dare I say it, a dog whistle to an undercurrent of xenophobic racism that he seems comfortable calling out to. And it's something that becomes deeply disturbing when you stop to think that it's coming out of the mouth of a guy that's already been president once, and he's hoping to become president again.
Trump is actually traveling with some of these folks, conspiracy peddlers. We should note a veritable legion of doom of bigots and liars, perhaps none so depraved as this woman, Laura Loomer. Here she is getting off of Trump's plane before yesterday's debate. Just on Sunday, she posted an insanely racist message that if Harris, whose mom was an Indian immigrant, wins, quote, the White House will smell like curry and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center, unquote. On this 23rd anniversary of 9/11, we should also note Loomer posted last year that 9/11 was a, quote, inside job, unquote. Trump continues to bring this person along on his travels with him. Why? I don't know.
The company you keep, eh? And just in case you thought there was any truth in Trump's verbal dog and cat diarrhea, the author of the post, credited as the origin of this tale, has come out to say it was a mistake, that she'd misinterpreted a story she'd heard.
NBC News has now spoken to a woman. Her name is Erica Lee, and she's the woman behind one of those viral posts claiming that her neighbor's cat was kidnapped and saying that it may have been at the hands of Haitian neighbors. She tells us at NBC News she has now deleted the post, that it was wrong, that she misinterpreted a neighbor's story. She just texted me, quote, I messed up royally, and she said she never meant to cause so much hate against this one group of people.
Even Sky seem to acknowledge this in their own way. Furthermore, Springfield police have said they've received no reports of pets being stolen or eaten. If you watched the debate and you couldn't figure out who won, maybe it's worth checking out what happened to Trump's social media stock immediately after the debate. They dropped to a record low, indicating that Wall Street may have agreed as to who came out on top.
As everyone saw 2 nights ago, we had a monumental victory. So because we've done 2 debates and because they were successful, there will be no third debate.
In spite of the bluster, even Trump seems to know he lost, despite what he might say. If he genuinely felt he'd wiped the floor with Harris, he'd be tripping over himself to go again. Knockout blow and all that. In the context of who he is, of what he is, and of what he's done, I'm not sure whether or not a knockout blow is even possible, much less what one might look like.
There's no stopping what can't be stopped.
Anyway, the article from Lee Sales I think starts off uncontroversial enough. Going in, I think you could argue the stakes were higher for Harris. This was a chance for her to win over that section of middle America that would not ever have previously considered voting Democrat, but are now, thanks to Trump's term in office and his behaviour since, open to seeing other people. Sales talks about the opening moments and the handshake, and in doing so I think she raises a fairly valid point. How people view politics can be a bit of a Rorschach test.
A Rorschach, right?
Harris crossing the floor to shake hands was a perfect example of that. I was one of those people that saw this as a confident move and a statement, but there'd be plenty of people that will view it differently, and that's perfectly okay. But after all that, it's here that the article moves into an area that drew the most criticism online.
Neither side landed a knockout blow.
This talk of the knockout blow, or the view that neither candidate landed the knockout blow. Political commentators love to use boxing references when talking about debates for some reason. If we're going to stick with the boxing analogies, for me a knockout blow is one that ends a candidate's campaign. They're knocked down hard enough that they can't get back up again to compete. The 2024 Biden versus Trump debate is a good example.
It was a TKO. It was a knockout. Biden is not there. I think that they will replace him definitely with somebody like Michelle Obama.
It did result in a knockout, but Biden's knockout wasn't at the hand of his opponent. His knockout was more self-inflicted, something like tripping over the rope on the way into the ring and then headbutting the floor. When people say that there was no knockout blow in the Harris-Trump debate, I have to agree. But before you get angry at me, hear me out. Despite all the weird rambling shit Trump spouted over the course of the debate, you know, this sort of stuff,
Transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Say what? So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan.
Oh, jeez.
There was no knockout blow delivered by either candidate. Any commentary you see around Harris's failure to land a knockout blow points to a sad and sobering reality. That is, Trump has lowered the bar so far that there doesn't seem to be anything capable of knocking him out. He's created a reality all of his own that millions of people seem happy to live in with him. For any other politician, Trump's debate performance would and should have spelt the end of their presidential campaign. But for Trump, it was just par for the course. I've watched quite a few of his rallies, and as jarring as much of this may have sounded to the casual Aussie ABC viewer, it's really just business as usual.
Hot dogs. Let's talk about hot dogs. I just had one, actually. I just had one. It was very good.
Any one of those things there should have been enough to end a political career. But despite that list, the reality is Trump's still running. And in spite of those things, millions and millions of Americans will still vote for him. For those people, whatever happened in the debate doesn't matter. It's not going to change a thing. Do you think the debate outcome will change this guy's mind?
Barack Obama had a big part of 9/11.
Which part?
Not being around, always on vacation, never in the office.
Why do you think Barack Obama wasn't in the Oval Office on 9/11?
That I don't know. We'd like to get to the bottom of that.
Put it this way, becoming a convicted felon didn't harm his chances, and neither will the debate. Look, I'm not saying that Harris lost the debate. She didn't. As far as debates go, she was a clear winner. But remember, in boxing, there's more than one way to win the fight. You don't need to knock out your opponent to win. You can win on points. And to me, that's what Harris did. So when people say that Harris didn't land a knockout or killer blow, I reluctantly have to nod my head and agree. Harris won the debate, yes, but there was nothing from Trump that we haven't seen before. Nothing that will end Trump's campaign in the same way that the first debate ended Biden's run. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what Sales, Spears, Sky News, or anyone else thinks for that matter. At the end of the day, Taylor Swift has spoken.
You talk about extreme.